Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFLW Fantasy Fanatics round review. We're recording on Sunday night, the 28th of September, after the completion of round 7 of the AFLW Fantasy season. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And joining me, as always, is my co-host and fellow AFLW Fantasy Fanatic, Tom Hales. Tom, mate, how are you? How was your weekend?
Hi, mate. Yeah, good. Midway through my weekend over here in WA with the public holiday tomorrow. So just enjoying the long weekend and enjoyed watching a lot of AFLW today, as well as on Thursday night, and definitely didn't do it at work on Friday. Definitely worked hard.
Yep, exactly. With Melbourne, the only state that had the public holiday on the Friday. Then WA's got a public holiday tomorrow. Where's the Adelaide public holiday? That's I think it's next Monday, so it's around the corner, but it will be coming very, very soon. But joining us is a very special guest. He's jumped on a number of pre-lockout chats this year, and first review show of the season. Good friend of the show, Jono from Free Kick, the official AFLW Fantasy podcast. Jono, welcome, mate. Good to have you on the Sunday show. How are you?
Thanks. Yeah, no, good to be here. Good to be on the Sunday edition, not just the Fridays. It'll be, different energy, I think. And yeah, I think if you're talking about the long weekend, I've been a bit of a prick this week, and I'm going to tell people that I took the whole week off work, and I've basically just spent a week and a half living life, which has been great. So a lot of footy, a lot of time spent up in Rutherglen, which is a pretty nice area for those who haven't been. And yeah, been a good week overall.
Yeah, no, it's always a good fun week in Melbourne on the men's grand final week, when you have all the AFLW on the Thursday night, and then all day Friday, then you got the grand final parade, all that sort of stuff. Then Saturday's the game, and then there's AFLW on the Sunday. So it's been a good fun weekend. I was hopeful to be there this year, but of course, Crows straight sets. So we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about AFLW Fantasy. So we'll get stuck into our trades from this past week. So Jono, what trades did you end up making with your side in round 7?
Yeah, so I was looking to fix up Tessa Boyd in my backline. So I think I moved her up to Sarah Goodwin, which I think was net positive. And then I also took Kate Hoare out of my side. Kate Hoare out of my side up to Ash Riddell, which I think the points went down, but I think long term I'll be better off. So yeah. I think I ended up with a 15-25 this week, which I was pretty happy with.
Yeah, no, beautifully done there, mate. Yeah, that North game was strange, to say the least.
Yeah.
It's going to be strange when there's a goal review. It takes about 10 years to be done, and then North Melbourne duo in the midfield didn't go too well, which I'm sure we'll chat about at some point. But Tom, what trades did you make in round 7?
I did Paxi Paxman, Georgia Prasparkis, and Beck Ott out, and bring in Lauren Young onto the bench, and then I brought in Jazz Garner, and Sarah Goodwin, who was very nice, made lots of cash, scored decently. So one half of that trade I'm happy with. One half of that trade I'm furious with.
Yep. I'm sure we'll get to that game, and if we're going to take it in turns with duds, Tom, when we get there. But if you're not on duty for the North game, I'll give that one to you. And
there's two in that game. Both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, some poor scores there. My trades in round 7, so fairly happy with my trade. So Georgia Prasparkis went to Kiara Bowers, which I was very, very happy to bring Kiara Bowers back in. She was incredible in that second half, particularly. But to do that, went Ash Centra down to Lauren Young, who unfortunately had to play on my field this week, which I'll discuss that soon. And then Tessa Boyd went up to Sarah Goodwin, who I thought was very impressive being there in attendance for that game today at On the Oval. So she was very good in the midfield. Let's go to our scores and ranks. So, Jono, what was you alluded to your score before? What was your score? And don't think you can see your round rank now. I think Lockout's lifted. So, what was your round rank and oval rank?
Yeah, so ended with a 15-25, which was a round 7 rank of 187th, which has left me in 44th overall at the moment, which I think is the highest score I've been this year. So, not a bad place.
Nicely done, mate. Sitting there, very pretty. I think you got pipped though. By 2 spots.
I did. Yeah. No, I'm pretty outraged if I'm honest. He's pipped me by 2 points and 2 ranks, Liam. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of tension on the podcast tomorrow. The competitive spirits. Yeah, I didn't know I had it in me, but I can feel it right now. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Oh no, Liam, if you're listening, be prepared for the pod recording. Looking forward to listening to that. Tom, how did you go in round 7? Score, round rank, over rank?
So I got a 15.05, mainly thanks to an absolutely outrageously good Sunday. All my Sunday plays did very well. And that was a round rank of 287 and up about 120 places to 331st. Only about 160 points off the 100, so still in touching distance-ish with a good end to the year.
Yeah. Yep, still very much in the mix. Well, I don't like being the lowest scoring coach on the pod, but it is what it is. So 1496 for me, not quite getting that 1500 marker, but round rank of 348 is not too bad, and up to 156 overall. So up 45 spots, closing in on that top 100 at 156. So just getting here. So I'm 57 points off of 100 spots. So hoping to make up that gap with the remaining 5 rounds of the season. Plus and minus threes, Jono, I'll go to you first. Who gets them for you this week?
Well, I think it'd be hard to give it to anyone other than Laura Gardner for me. The +3, that's a massive game on the Sunday. Jesus. I honestly was watching that game just hoping that Noffy would go well, and she did, but Gardner still felt like she was twice her score every point of the game, which was kind of crazy. The -3, though, I'd probably have to give it to Eden Zanker, who probably got my +3 last week, because she's followed up that 5-goal haul with a 32-point effort. So a little bit disappointing there against the Suns.
Yeah, no, very disappointing score, and I'll chat about her very, very shortly. Tom, your plus and minus 3?
So I was going to give my +3 to Lauren Gardner, but we'll move it somewhere else, and I think I'm going to give it to Ella Roberts. 107 could have been so much more if she didn't hurt her elbow in that third quarter, but to come back out, take that big mark in the goal square in the final quarter to seal the victory for my West Coast Eagles, and to get over that ton when you're not running the optimal midfield, to get a tons plus score is absolutely great. And my -3, it's just got to go to Ash Woodland. Ash Woodland's last 3 quarters. First quarter, absolutely fine, about 30 points, absolutely great. To only come out with a 51, is absolutely, minging. And he's on the trade block this week. So expecting a whole lot more from a premium forward. And that role is a little bit questionable with only some mid-time and quite a lot of goal square time.
Yeah. We love that British humour that you bring to the show, Tom. That is for sure. My +3, I'm going to honourable mention to Kiara Bowers, and I'll talk about Noffy in a sec as well. But I've got to give the +3 to Jessie Wardlaw. If it wasn't for her, I would be in a world of hurt tonight, because I probably would have scored close to 1,400. Not a lot of people own her, so I would have been a long way. But 60 points in the last quarter and 3 goals, clunking everything. I didn't get to watch it, so you better believe once this podcast is done, I'll be watching that last quarter again and watching how good it was. But to come up with 60 points in the last quarter was an incredible score, even though she wasn't the high-scoring player. I thought I'd give the flowers to Jessie Wardlaw this week for a great score, but obviously Bowers and Noffy were very, very good in their own right. I feel bad not giving it to 130, but I thought I'd give it to Wardlaw this week. -3 goes to a combination of Lauren Young and Eden Zanker. So put Eden Zanker on the bench on the Friday. I thought, well, she's going to be my emergency forward loop. I might as well get a look just in case. Casey Fields apparently was going to be a little bit wet. So I thought, okay, I'll put her on the bench. She'll score a 50 odd at least, and I'll take that score. If Garner goes well, then great. But Garner not only failed as a VC, but then Eden Zanker put up 32. So I thought, okay, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that score. I'll play Lauren Young, who scored a 53 on it in her first game and look good. Again, I didn't watch this game, and I won't be watching out for Lauren Young because you don't really notice her very much. She scored 20 points. So I lost 12 points on a 32. I didn't think that was going to be possible. And unfortunately, that is the world that I live in. And it cost me a 1,500 plus score. So I'm not very happy with that one. So yeah, and Jazz Gun's quite lucky probably not to get the -3 because that was a poor score as well. Very weird game. But all three of us, I'm sure, will give a special mention of a +3 to both Ebony Marinoff and Ali Anderson, both playing their 100th game in the AFLW this weekend and both getting wins, both playing at the exact same time, which was fantastic. And to play every game from the start is incredible. Particularly Noffy, who crashes and bashes every game. Just incredible. The longevity of the two, and long may it continue for both of them. So congrats to them on their 100th game. And also Crows in Brisbane. I'm playing 100 AFLW games as well. In terms of the Content Creators Cup, Tom, do you want to run through your matchup?
I can run through.
Me and Jono will go through our matchups, and then you can run through the rest.
Yeah, so in a top of the table clash, I played DC 1 and 2, and I managed to come out winner by 63 points to lead the Content Creators Cup by a win, just due to my great defense and not by. We have 3 coaches in the top 50. I'm over 300, but I am leading the Content Creators Cup, and that's all that matters in AFL Fantasy.
Yep, no, mate, nicely done. Jono, how did you go in your matchup?
Yeah, I think I've managed to get a win over the Didax Rat Pack. It was a 15-25 to 14-86. It was actually pretty close. He had some good players in coming home strong with Ella Roberts, but I suppose I had Gardner and he didn't. Ended up being the difference because without that, I mean, if she just puts up a normal 100, I've lost that matchup. So, yeah, a very strong carry there.
Yeah, no, very nicely done there, mate. And then I got the win over Jaiden, so 14.96 to 13.53. So happy to move into the top 4 on 5 and 2, which is nice. Behind a couple of top 50 coaches, and then some guy at the top that keeps getting lucky every week. That how did the other matchups go, Tom?
In the other matchups, that's next week. I was too busy looking at in the other matchups. Eloise continued her fine form with a crushing 80-point win over Will. Liam had a crushing 240-point win over Jake, who's in a bit of a form slump at the minute with 5 consecutive losses. And in the final game of the round, Mel got a nice win over Jackson by 16 points in a low-scoring affair, 14-40 to 14-26. And just to reiterate, Plum United is top of the ladder, 6 wins, 1 defeat, a whole win clear, due to the fact I have by far the lowest points against. Jono has over 650 points against more in 7 weeks.
Yeah. Look, I mean, at the same time, you've had, a 600-point better defense effort. So I think I've got to applaud you on that.
Exactly.
I've got to figure out what you're doing.
What you got to do is got to message them in the week. Be like, I'm an expert. I know about things. Tell them to do a trade, and then it fails. That's what you do. No, I feel very lucky.
Some terrible advice to Will this week, it seems.
Long may it continue.
Yeah, no, well, nicely done there, Tom. In terms of the AFLW Fantasy Fanatics Open League, we have 43 coaches inside the top 100, and obviously we have one of those people on with us tonight, and obviously Liam, who is a couple of points ahead of Jono, and then obviously Eloise, 3 members of the Content Creators Cup going along very nicely there. But Kevin's team, Vague Pro, I keep forgetting the name, trying to load up. Vaprob W is still leading that, and he is currently sitting in 4th. And we do have Rosie's Ruin as Nick's team on top still, with a 31-point lead, still going along nicely there. But I know the team value, I'm sure that Nick will be looking at the team value thinking I'm a little bit concerned with that. So I have to see how that does play out, because crazy to think we got some coaches. I think Luke's team in 7th. We got Matt's team in 13th, and the top 20 have got over 20 million team value, which is incredible at this stage of the season. Shout out to those coaches there.
Quite a low scoring round for the very top of, 4 of the top 6 coaches overall scored below a 1,500 this week. So it's quite a low scoring round in the top, and it's bringing us well, I say us, me and Bales, not Jono, who's doing very well. Lower down coaches into the fight for at least a hat. Because I think that we all would like a hat. Bales would definitely like a hat.
Oh, you don't
I think
understand.
It's players like Imogen Barnett who are just getting, they're only afforded by the best coaches, really.
Yeah. Or you can just have Lauren Young and Eden Zanker, or you can have Lauren Young and Eden Zanker and just not gain any ground on them whatsoever, which is very, very frustrating.
I still have Tessa Boyd.
She did okay. She did better than Young and Zanker this week. So there's that.
She did. She got a 40.
Yeah, but for those coaches as well that want the top hundreds, so that where you're sitting, so 10,302 is the 100th coach at the moment. So Clinton's team there is 100. So if you're wanting a top 100, that is the score you want. But let's get stuck into the games, and we'll go all the way back to Thursday night footy, and Jono's Hawks getting a good win for Will and Jono being in attendance for that game. Hawthorn by 7 points, 42-35. Who gets your stud from this game, Jono?
Geez, there are a few contenders in this one because I feel like it's hard to pass up on Tilly Lucas-Rods, 108. Jenna Richardson, for anyone who's jumped on when she was down in the 600s, was taking a real rise. Prasparkas keeps on going with her 100s. But I think Lucy Wales, 131. It's unbelievable what she's done since I traded her out. I'm really impressed. I think she...
Is that 2 years in a row now, you said? I think that's 2 years in a row now. You've traded her out the wrong time. Is that right?
I know. Just before she's gone bang both years, I've got to just back her in one of these seasons because I do it all preseason and then, I lose my nerve when the season hits. So...
Yeah, she looked fantastic. So someone that could be the R1 for the remainder of the year, which is probably not what we thought we'd be saying at this point of the year. Tom, who gets your dud from this game?
I think it's not a particularly fantasy relevant game, but I'm going to give it to Laura Stone, and I feel like it's harsh, but she gave us such hope having that very strong midfield role for a couple of weeks, but now that has dissipated. 54% TOG. Just if you still have been stuck with her, you've just got to get off and try and find a different way because Laura Stone isn't that.
Yeah, frustrating. I really wish she got a bit more time on ground. She looked good in the midfield, but with Jazz signing back, that is unfortunately spelled the end of that for the time being, unfortunately. Moving to Melbourne and Gold Coast with Melbourne getting a big win here by 87 points. Jono, who gets your stud? I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, we were talking just before we started recording. I think potentially a target for me this week is Maeve Chaplin with that 120. Huge effort. I think she had nearly double the meters gained of any other player on the ground. She just gives so much drive for them. And I can see with their upcoming run being, still positive for a few more weeks, I'd be pretty happy to jump on there.
Yeah, she really reminds me of Maddie Gay. Like just that quarterback role. I don't know why they keep putting them in CBAs because she's such a good defender, such a good quarterback back there that just keep her there. She's she's absolutely killing it at the moment. That is for sure. My dud from this game again, Eden Zanker's the probably obvious one that stands out there with the 32. Paxi Paxton probably another one that you could throw into the mix. Unfortunately, they didn't have too good a game. And Neve McLaughlin with a 49. I know Tom has floated an idea potentially of a trade out, which we'll chat about on trade when we get to the targets after. But those three probably will share it. And unfortunately, Chloe Whitford again, unfortunately, had soft tissue injury. Looked really good. It was on 30 points, I think, at quarter time. And it was a hamstring, I think, late in the first quarter, which is really unfortunate. So I guess someone to keep an eye on if she comes back at this, probably not this year, but maybe for next year with some injury-affected games, unfortunately. Just hasn't had a good run at it this year. Moving to the next game, which was very weird.
Just a quick shout-out for that game. Gabrielle Colvin, 95% TOG, scored naught.
That's an impressive effort.
Sorry.
No, one thing that was impressive was I thought the Bombers played well in this game. First quarter, we knew that North were gonna run over the top of the end, but this game at quarter time was looking first goalless first quarter for North since 2021, which was very interesting. But North eventually coming over the top, winning by 30 points. Jono, probably not massive scores from this game, but who would get you stud here?
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting this to be a fantasy relevant game because it's North, but I can't give it to any of the North players. They're pretty much all down. I think the one I'd give it to is Bonnie Toogood. This is a matchup a lot of people were fretting, going, do I have to trade her out for it? But an 85, 20 touches, and also in that Gale, still taking 5 marks. I think that's a huge effort for a key forward.
Yeah. Oh, and she went behind the ball as well, was looking great. So, yeah, 3 behinds as well. That could have been a ton, which, yeah, she's very good. So I think that anyone worried about these tough matchups, I think she's going to keep pumping out some really, really good scores, that's for sure. Now, this is, Tom, where you probably could list off a few players for the dud here, because there's a lot of poor scores here.
Yeah. Honourable mention, Ash Riddell, 86, not good enough. Jasmine Garner. Just not looking interested. 2 tackles, no marks, no real spread, just kind of contest to contest, plodding around like a plodder we know she isn't. We know she's so much better than that. 69 when the advice all week, and I still back the advice before seeing the game, was kind of it's Garner at all costs this week. She's going to really hurt you if you don't have her against a poor Essendon side. Well, how wrong was that? Essendon played very well and Garner stunk it up. But the real dud of the week, I have to keep strolling. The second lowest scorer for North Melbourne, Emma Carney, with 30. Just a disgrace. Get involved. No tackles, 1 mark. Get involved. You're supposed to be a gun. Your team was struggling. Get involved.
Yeah, Tom's taking no prisoners. Tom's taking no prisoners tonight. That's for sure. But no, it was interesting that North put some. Essendon put attention into Garner and Riddell. I think Morecambe tagged Riddell, and looked like they were just being very wary of Garner and didn't get that outside ball, which unfortunately, Carney. Yeah, just not a good score at all. So very, very disappointing there. Moving to the next game, which was Carlton and Fremantle. Carlton getting a good win there by 9 points. And again, there's a few good scorers here, Jono. So who gets your stud?
Yeah, I think there was something like 10 scores over 80 in this game. It was the only game that actually had like a decent number of high scorers before the break for the grand final Saturday. And I think basically on that basis, with every other midfielder failing around her to that point of the weekend, it's got to go to Kiara Bowers for a 131. I mean, this is now, 3 weeks in a row? I think she's fully back. This is basically what we'd seen a couple seasons ago. And that's great to see.
Yeah, well, it's for all those people that played AFLW for a number of years, it's just something you love to see. Kiara Bowers at her best and owning her in your team for one. Another great score. And I think that was a season high disposal tally, if I'm not mistaken. But the best thing about it is 26 touches, 22 kicks, which is what we want to see. Very, very good there. But there was another player that got another ton, Tom.
To Sean, to Jake, to everybody who has ever wanted Dana Finn in the side, I'm sorry. She is the reincarnation of Errol Goulden and can just score week after week on a wing, always on the hot wing, always there for a +6. The amount of times that they would kick to her in the middle of the ground into just a straight one-on-one where if it got turned over, it would be a goal against. It just happened all the time. She's a great player, don't get me wrong, but they just kick it to her at all costs. If you jumped on, she's been absolutely amazing. And now is your time to downgrade her to Jazz Garner.
Yeah,
how wrong I was.
That's in itself is crazy. You can downgrade Dana Finn, who's been incredible, to Jazz Garner. Very, very interesting. My dud for this game, there's a few. I'm going to give a very lucky, probably not to get this one here, but honorable mention to Mim Strom. 88's not a bad score when you look at it. But for someone that we paid 1.2 million, some people started at 1.4. It's just she's the R3 at the moment. She's like I'd have both Lucy Wells and probably Matilda Schultz ahead of her at the moment. No, Matilda Schultz was okay today, but yeah, just not what we're wanting with the 88 there. Also, special mention to really the Carlton coaching stuff and Maddie Gearin. Like, what are they doing with her at the moment? Like, she's stuck in the forward line, not playing midfield. Like, come on, like just seeing a score here of 19, just not getting involved, unfortunately. So needs to get in that midfield. The Carlton coach need to put her in there. But anyway, it goes to a combination of Ash Reedy and Holly Iffold for a combined 19 points between them. Reedy with a 14 and Holly Iffold with a 5. So they're cashed in. They lost cash when they should be making cash, and it's put coaches in a pickle that have got them because they've either lost a lot of cash, or in Reedy's case, has joined my M6, Tara Harrington, down at 300k. So yes, not all won at this time of the year with cash gen. Moving to the last game on the Friday, which is a big win by Western Bulldogs over Collingwood. Very good win there, 57 points. And who gets the stud from this game for you, Jono?
Yeah, it was a tricky one, this game, because there's not a lot of fantasy relevant names at the top. I mean, there's quite a few down the bottom, but of all the players who scored over 75, I think only one of them had over 5% ownership. And on that basis, I'm going to give it to Brittany Gutnecht, coming off, I suppose, the halfback line for the Bulldogs. But I think more just forming a wall in this game, because I think Pies only had something like 17 inside 50s. Incredibly low. And I think that's just them setting up in front of, outside their own forward 50 and keeping the ball forward all game.
Yeah, she was very, very good, along with Ellie Blackburn, who was very good to see her back in the midfield. And then Alice Edmonds, Izzy Pritchard as well. And then Carly Ramos as well, who a lot of us had last year, going very nicely with, I believe, her first career AFLW Fantasy ton there. Tom, who gets your dud from this game?
Yeah, so shout out to Britt Benici, Fake Primo, be better, please. 73 is not good enough. But I've got to give it to somebody who started the season really, really nicely. Started the season with an 80 and then 370 scores, and in this game has scored a 30 with 70% time on ground. Elizabeth Georgia-Stasis. Like, just putrid. That midfield row is completely gone. 579k, down 140k this week. Was up over 900k 3 weeks ago, and now below 600k. It's like almost an option. Shout out to also Imogen Barnett, top 5 forward. I was so hot on Imogen Barnett on Wednesday night's pre-lockout show. I was so hot. 35. Well done, Tom. I'm seeing it like beach balls right now.
Yeah. No, you can tell by the way Tom is he's not happy. He's loving having the dance tonight, that's for sure.
I'm reading the riot app. They need to know. There's too much happy commentary around AFLW. They need to know what's acceptable and what's not.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. We'll move to the Sunday games. Starting on an incredible comeback, biggest comeback in AFLW history, and not only does the biggest three-quarter time deficit belong to the men's team for the Saints, but also the AFLW side came back from a long way down, 27 points to win by 11 points over Port Adelaide. A couple of good scores here. Jono, who gets your stud?
Yeah, they were just unstoppable in that last quarter. It was great to watch. I think the player I'm giving it to, it's probably the only chance I may have for the rest of the season, because that was a nasty injury at the end of the game there to Ashley Richards, who has moved into the midfield over the last couple of weeks and been excellent. It's like, I think it's less the work that she's doing at clearance and more just on the outside. They're using her as that exit from stoppage constantly. And it's a great role. She's great kicking inside 50. I think it's something that would stick around if she was playing much more. Fingers crossed that what we saw at the end of the game there isn't season over for her, because I'd love to see more of it over the next few weeks.
Yeah, no, she's been very, very good. Unfortunately, with the injury, hopefully it's not too serious. She's back this year, but didn't look very good. The dud from this game. So a couple of lower scores here. So Ash Woodland being one with a 51, not great, obviously, after starting off really well. But I'm going to give it to, and I know I shouldn't give it to her, but Lauren Young with a 20. like, I know I had her on field, and I know I took on a 32. I was always going to do that, but it's more just for everyone with cash gen. Like, we thought Lauren Young was there to make some good cash, tick over some really useful cash at this time of the year, but only made 12K. That break even will shoot up a little bit. Just not what we wanted when we needed cash gen at this point of the year. So she will get it for me as well. And I also believe Zoe Basenko scored 13 points, but I reckon she scored 10 points, I reckon, in the first probably 6-7 minutes of the game, I reckon, from what I was tracking here, and didn't touch after that, which was unfortunate. So, yes, hopefully she can get some cash gen going for her owners out there. Moving over to the Adelaide and Sydney game. Adelaide getting a good win by 2 points. Very good game of footy. Really enjoyed watching this one here. John, I think there's probably two players that could probably share this award.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Both incredible games. Starting with, I suppose, Laura Gardner with 173 fantasy points. It's one of those games where you just see her do it all. I mean, there's 37 touches, there's 15 tackles, she's kicked a goal. And it was also, she was getting it done at the start of the quarter. So I've never felt more confidence as an owner to just going, oh, the score's right up there, right at the start of every point that I was looking at it. It's honestly just a fantastic watch. She's now unbelievably expensive, but yeah, it's that ceiling that she has, which, as far as I can tell, is the highest score we've had this season. I can't think of another one. Can you guys?
Don't think so. I think Riddell was 160 odd, 168 or something like that. I don't think anyone's gone 170. So
yeah, I think it's the first one.
Massive score. 67-point first quarter is how you get things started with 11 touches, 8 tackles, and a goal. Very, very good start.
Also, the plus 16 post final siren as well.
Yeah.
We've seen
what an adjustment.
We've seen some big adjustments, but I've never seen a plus 16. What was Champion Data doing in this game? Is a big...
Well, they missed that. They missed a Marinoff plus 6, like in the first or second quarter, in like the back pocket that took ages to get added. Like an Offie, I think, had plus 8 post the game, so that was good there. I think some other players had some adjustments there as well. Tom, who gets the dud for you from this game?
I actually think she had a decent enough game, but it's going to go to Anne Hatchard with 62.
Just the role
was forward mostly, thrown around a bit. Had a decent game, but just not good enough for a premium midfielder. That role's not there. Got to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just you can see, like, in watching there. Obviously, I watch the Crows a lot closer than most people, and that gaping hole, unfortunately, of no Caitlin Gould and no Chelsea Randall in the forward line is hurting them. I know they won today, but they just don't have that presence up forward to take those marks. And Hatchard having to play more of that role, which is unfortunate for anyone that jumped on her. Hopefully you had her for at least that Gold Coast game for that big score. Moving over to the next game, which was Brisbane and Richmond. Again, another low-scoring fantasy game here, Jono, but who gets your stud here?
Yeah, I guess a very low-scoring game, and it was a bit nervy for Brisbane fans because I think they were down at halftime, or at least just before it. Looked like it was a bit of a nervy effort from them. I think I'd probably give it to Courtney Hodder because it's one of those things where sometimes when you have a forward coming into a good run, everything looks like it's going to line up and then things just fall apart. But Hodder's come out and gone, 3 decent scores in a row and is really rewarding anyone who did take that risk early. So I think she gets the +3 for this one.
Yeah. She was very, very good. Unfortunately, a dud from this game. I've got to give it, unfortunately, to Jade Ellinger, 36. Just the scoring's dropped off for her at the moment. So she's now under 700K as well. So she target with a good run, but we thought this is a good matchup. So, not a great score, unfortunately, from Ellinger there. Moving to the final game, which was your West Coast Eagles. Tom getting a nice win over GWS by 42 points. Who gets the stud from this game, Jono?
In the very, very final game, I guess it's a challenge on that one. I think Ella Roberts was one you mentioned before, but in the interest of just keeping it different, I'm going to give it to Zahali Goldsworthy, and it's mainly because I think at halftime she was still in I'm not sure if it was the 20s or the 30s, but it was pretty low. She was on
29 at halftime, got a +6, I believe, to a 35.
Yeah, but came in with a pretty big second half just to really drive it home. So I think that's worthy of, in a week where there was a lot of down scores, a little bit of fear that was going to happen, and then came home with 100 at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, very, very good second half. 38-point third quarter and 33-point last quarter with 5 tackles in that last quarter was really nice to see. And Tom, to finish us off, who gets the dud from the last game?
It's quite hard because everyone kind of did okay. I'm going to give it to Tani Evans, purely, and I know she was playing with a busted nose, and that has to have some bearing, but 53 in what you'd expect to be quite an okay matchup for Tani just kind of doesn't quite get it done. But everyone else did kind of what you're expecting. Charlie Thomas a bit low again, 58, getting cheap now. Is she still an option? We're discussing a bit, but everyone else did all right.
Annabelle Johnson probably the other one that was unfortunate for those coaches.
Yeah, so I've got Annabelle Johnson. The game just kind of passed her by. No +6s this week, which really hurt her score. Probably a trade.
Yeah, exactly. Potentially could be on the chopping block for those coaches that need a little bit of cash. So let's jump over to the trade ins and outs. So we'll quickly start off with the trade outs, and we'll go into the defense. Jono, one player that Tom mentioned, it's probably we're talking about her first as a trade out option, right? Because we've been looking to trade her in, but cash gen is very, very tight for a lot of coaches. Like, I'm struggling to find where I can get the upgrade this week. I think I've got Piper Dunlop as the only player over 400k on the bench. Neve McLaughlin dropped 86k this week, and she's got Brisbane. Could it be a 1 week play of jumping off, jumping over to a 2 Lucas Rod or another, maybe a Maeve Chaplin, and then bring Neve McLaughlin back in a week or two when she's dropped a bit of cash? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we are at that point in the season where it is getting, we've got nothing on the benches, as you say. So anywhere we can find cash is a good one. And these prices move so quickly. So I really don't mind it. Brisbane are very restrictive. I can see her going okay. But that sort of, 100 ceiling that she's shown, the prior week, I can't see that happening again. I think it's probably fine to jump off for a week and then come back in when she's at a cheaper price. I'd be pretty hesitant to stay out for too long because I think some of the matchups after that are pretty solid. But yeah, after that, I'd be willing to jump back on almost straight away against the Hawks, particularly if she's still in the midfield, who we've been giving up plenty of points to recently.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's something that definitely you could look at. Tom, there's a few other defenders that at the higher price point, because I think a lot of people you've got players like Tessa Boyd that I know you do, Tom. They're obviously a trade out. You're looking at upgrading them to a player, but there's some defenders that aren't getting it done, and some of them could be trade-ins based on their price, but players that are either dropping in price or not putting up good scores. So you're looking here at like Charlie Thomas has been average for a few weeks now. No real big scores. Shelley Heath hasn't got that same role as what we've seen before. Emma Carney dropped 148k this week. She could be a trade-in, but she's obviously dropped a heap in cash. Are you looking at trading in like Jade Ellinger? Are any of these, are you more concerned about than the other that you'd be looking at trading out, or do you think some of them are trade-in options?
I think it's very, very difficult. So I honestly think your thought process about these players literally depends on whether you own them or not. Because I'm in the market for a defender this week, and I'm looking at Emma Carney down 150k this week, down at 730. I'm like, ooh, I fancy a bit of Emma Carney priced down at 60. Or, as you say, Charlie Thomas under 800k. Like, ooh, she's got a couple of Collingwood and Adelaide are 2 decent matchups for defenders. So I think it's almost a case-by-case basis and what your weakest spot in the team is. I would say my advice is not to go necessarily sideways between these options. Like, if you can get from these options up to a Watson, Lucas Rod, Chaplin, McCormick as a cheaper option in that kind of, maybe not McCormick, but those first three definitely. maybe even a good win with this role, then yes, going sideways between them, not so much for me.
Yeah. And then, Jono, probably the last couple of defenders here in Paxi Paxman and Georgia Stathis they've dropped a lot of money. Like Paxi Paxman, they're at 606K, and then Georgia Stathis is 579K. Are they trade out? Do you try and hope they can turn it around? Because they're so cheap that you got to find, if you want even a Sarah Goodwin, you need 400K, probably 300K, 350, 400K to upgrade these players. What do you do with them?
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be if you haven't jumped off already. I'd say with someone like Georgia Stathis, you've almost just got to hold at this point and just hope it turns around, because your sideways options aren't great. Like if you look around the 500 to 700K bandwidth, I don't know. Is there even anyone who scored something that you'd be willing to field? It'd be pretty far between at that point. So I'd probably just be holding and hope it turns around. With Paxman as well, I think you're almost in the same boat. She's a little bit more expensive, but I think honestly, I'd just be waiting for the turnaround. The problem is, particularly with Paxman, is that I don't think the time on ground is going to get better as the season goes on. It's one of my big concerns about Emma Carney as well, is that the longer the season goes on, the more a high chance they're going to be rested. So I suppose with Paxman, I'd probably try and find a trade. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough with Georgia Stathis there at the moment.
Yeah. No, it's tricky with these big, massive price rises and price drops every week. And even Emma Carney was, I think, rested for a fair bit of that last quarter as well when North were up by a bit, which I think they'll continue to do moving forward. Moving to the midfield, probably not a huge amount of trade out. I think a lot of people have got a few of those bigger names or at least some really good options there. But Anne Hatchard, as Tom mentioned, going through that game, I think she's probably someone's got to go. Obviously had a couple of good scores, but then the 62 this week, playing a lot more forward. I think you just have to jump off just because that role's not there. But Tom, what about, so Mon Conti, someone that we've spoken about dropping, 54 and 86 is now down to 1.077 million, 95% tog as well, but comes up against Adelaide this week. Is she a hold for you now because of the points Adelaide are giving up, but she's dropped so much money that's probably not making anything going down?
I would probably be getting off that. Adelaide, I think, is a great matchup for elite mids. As we've seen the last fortnight, we've seen Gardner and Robertson go absolutely huge. So against, because Adelaide don't tag, they just let the midfielders do whatever they want and back their system in. I probably will be getting off Monkong. She's just playing North after that, and Collingwood, who are both fairly restrictive. And I think there are some options at that cheaper price that might be an option to bring in this week, but we'll get to that next week. I'm just looking at a few other players who have better runs than Richmond do that you might be able to jump on with the cash going in the right direction.
Yeah, there's potentially a couple of options we'll chat about soon as well. Besides that, there's probably not a huge amount. Like there's midfielders, if they've made cash, it's probably time to cash them in and try and get those points. If you still got like a Greaves sitting there, whether on field or bench, obviously you want to be trading her out now. She is dropping in cash now. Zippy Fish had a good game today, but she's still at EM5. I'm sure a lot of people jumped off already, but probably still looking at upgrading her. But I think that's probably it for the mids. Moving to the right.
Centra? I think Centra goes. I think the 47s are in the price cycle. Centra goes.
Yeah. So like I was afraid she was going to put up a massive score, but obviously copped a bit. I think Alice Edmonds stepped on her hand at one point, and just Collingwood struggling in that game, just really didn't get much service to Ashton. So I think it's probably a good time. She's probably peaked pretty much. She's 819K, so that cash gen's been valuable for those coaches. I think you cash in on that and downgrade, and then you can probably make a couple of upgrades on the other end. So I do agree that would be one I'd be moving off. Moving to the rucks, again, not much probably moving with rucks. I think you're probably holding most of your rucks there. Jono, it feels even weird suggesting this, but could you look at, if your team's in a really good spot, could you go Mimstrom to a Lucy Wales?
Yeah, honestly, it's been on my mind. I don't think I'm there yet, but I definitely think that the certainty that I was going to have Mimstrom to the end of the year is gone, and I think later in this season I'm going to start looking at little price fluctuations and matchups and seeing if I can get a good run against teams when they pop up, because Freo's run for the rest of the year, after this week against the Hawks, where Lucy Wales, it's a fairly neutral matchup just because there's a lot of stoppages in Hawks games. After that, I think it's just 4 difficult matchups for the rest of the year. So I'm not sure how confident I am in.
One of them is GWS, which is apparently red. I don't see. I see Mimstrom going.
Probably influenced by that game, which had no stoppages. And that's kind of the problem. The Giants, very open game, which doesn't suit Strom, even though she will absolutely destroy anyone she comes up in the ruck there.
It is 197K between Mimstrom and Lucy Wales now. You got to pay up. Like, that's crazy that's gone that way. But Lucy Wales is killing it, and Mimstrom's been a bit down. And Matilda
paid
Schultz
about the same amount to go the other way just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. Yep. And I went up to Havana. I went Havana up to Strom, and I could have got Lucy Wales at a cheap price. But who would have thought this was going to be how it turns out? But yeah, I think, again, if you don't have one of those top sort of couple of rucks, if you've still got maybe an Alice Edmonds, I know she had a good score on the weekend, but you're probably still wanting to get one of those top rucks there. But I think a lot of people have already got a few of those top rucks there anyway. So moving to the forward line, obviously for those owners that jumped on Ash Richards, I guess if you're ever going to get an injury, which, well, we don't want injuries anyway, but in fantasy, to make cash and put up a good score, you at least it's better than getting injured on the zero. But she's up at 930K, really like sort of easy switch to a forward that you like at that price. You could be looking there. But Ash Woodland, Tom, we mentioned her. The role, I didn't obviously get to watch this game. I was at the Crows game, but the role wasn't great. Sort of took a little bit of a downturn, and Piper Window came back, which I'm sure that, well, you can probably tell me, I'm sure she saw some CBAs. Woodland at 878. Is it potentially time to maybe look elsewhere?
So Piper Window played on ball. She just played as a midfielder. Full game time midfielder. So we will talk about Piper Window in approximately 10 minutes for the trade-ins. Ash Woodland played the role Ash Woodland's played for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I've owned her for the whole period. She plays some on-ball time, and she plays some forward time. She tends to play more on-ball time in the tougher games, and more forward time in the easier games. And for 3 quarters, this was classed as an easier game. And that's why she played probably 50-50 split. So it'll be interesting to see going forward. I think if you're in a luxury position, you can trade. I think there's some interesting options that are at a cheaper price that you can possibly jump on as a bit of a cash grab that we'll chat about in a second. But I don't think she's, much like Bonnie Too Good last week, I definitely don't think she's got to go at all costs. If you don't trade her out, it's going to be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, agreed. Imogen Barnett. Tom, you just putting that down to a bad score? You're not trading out of Imogen Barnett?
Yeah, I mean, Collingwood have got a good ruck run to come. So I think Alice Edmonds for Imogen Barnett is about as kryptonite as possible, being that very, very tall tap ruckman who's going to kind of play quite defensively around the ground. Collingwood have West Coast St Kilda in the next couple, which are decent ruck matchups, given Western Bulldogs is the easiest ruck matchup until this week. That will change.
I agree. I think Imogen Barnett's almost a trade in. Like, you can look at it and go, well, maybe not this week, but you could, like, good run. We were looking at her as someone that was almost not attainable just with the price and everything like that. Yeah. But now she's dropped a bit. She could be someone that you do look at. So someone to consider. Jono, Eden's anchor. You're an owner. I'm an owner. But she's still got a couple of good matchups to come. Essendon this week. She's still in the 700s, which I feel like she's been between 720 and 740K for like a month. I feel like I've just seen her price the same. Is she just a hold? Because you probably need to go up. There's probably not we obviously got window there, but what are you thinking with Zanka this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm very likely to trade her out this week myself. The tough thing is it's basically just the Melbourne forwards all seem to be taking turns to score big, and this week it wasn't hers. And so I feel like her scores bounced between being excellent and terrible. And I think at some point that's a ride that I just want to jump off, and I want to find someone who's just scoring more consistently. So I think, last time she put up a 40, I think she put up a couple back-to-back. I'm probably happy to jump off even with the good run, because against Essendon she could score anywhere in that range. I'd rather just lock in a 75 somewhere else, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, right, her last 6 quarters of football, she scored 48 points, I believe it was. Or, 50 points, because she thinks she scored... No, sorry, I was right. 48 points in the last 6 quarters. She scored 16 points in the second half last week after having an 84-point first half. And then she scored 32 this week. So it's completely dried up. So, yeah, it is an interesting one, something I'll definitely be considering. And then probably the other 2 main ones that coaches have got in Blaheem Bogue and Laura Stone. I think they can both go. I don't know about you guys, but I love watching Blaheem Bogue play. I haven't been an owner all year, but she looks fantastic. But I think both have done their jobs. They're both rookies and have made good cash. But I think you can jump off and jump up to a premium if you've got that cash. Particularly Laura Stone, who that role just isn't there for them, unfortunately, anymore. And that's probably in terms of trade out. So we'll go to the trade ins. And Jono, starting off in defence, obviously we've got Serene Watson still going on nicely. T. Lucas Rod, they're going along well. Maeve Chaplin is going well. I think if you've got the cash there, the threat, is there one that you like more than the other if you had to go for an option in defence?
Yeah, I think of all of them, I'm probably a biggest fan of Serene Watson. There was a moment right at the end of that Saints game today, basically, where once Richards had gone down with injury, Serene Watson started playing a little bit in the midfield. And I'm not sure if it was just an experiment or, they just wanted to keep her involved in the game, but she looked really, really good. And, when Niamh McLaughlin did this for a quarter, she then went on to play full-time midfield after that. And I'm hoping that could be a sign of things to come. So I'm going to be scrounging as much cash as I can this week just to see if I can find her a spot on my side.
Yeah, well, I'm okay. She plays midfield or defence, just not forward. This is what we want. Just don't go forward. I've got Watson. I think a few people do. I think my preference would be then T. Lucas Rod after their run for the rest of the year. Besides round 12 when they play North Melbourne is very, very juicy. So I'm liking T. Lucas Rod there, and then Maeve Chaplin just been very, very good and keeps getting it done. Also, just want to put on the radar, Maddie Gay is over $1 million expensive, but she's back fairly soon. So someone just to keep on the radar as someone you might want to get in, because we know how good of a scorer she is in defence. Sarah Goodwin is also still a potential option. That midfield role was there. Looked great again. I think she had one quieter quarter, but besides that was pretty consistently over 20, 25 points, which is good to see. Cambridge McCormick, Tom, any interest as a trade in there? 866K, went down 19K this week, but has been solid. Hasn't gone below 63 all season and had a 79 today. 96% TOG is what we want to see. Is Cambridge McCormick someone that you'd be interested in?
GWS are rubbish. So the ball's down there a lot. And as a result, and as a result, she's always going to be in around the ball. Her tackling prowess is absolutely unreal, especially for a defender. I wonder if some magnets might get thrown around and she might find a way a little bit higher up the ground. I'd love to see her on ball for a bit, just to see that.
She loves to tackle. Her tackling impression is great.
I think she'd be a really she's a great kick, great tackler. I think she could be used as quite a big-bodied midfielder, but that's just digressing from fantasy.
But what team are we talking about?
But we are talking about
GWS.
With
they play every player where they shouldn't, pretty much. So
yeah. So, but definitely, if that's the best you can get to, because there's quite a patting of the sea between. There's 90K between Sarah Goodwin at 956 and McCormick at 866. So if that's the best you can get to, and you can't get up to these Uber defenders, I definitely don't hate it. And then you go to shop in the discounted zone, which is kind of
So
where
you've
I'm
got-
shopping this week.
Yeah, so you got Charlie Thomas, obviously there at 793, hasn't gone over 80 this year, but we know she's very capable of doing that. Emery Driscoll's found a bit of form, back-to-back 70s, so it could be someone there's a bit of a pod you want to take a stab at. I think Shelley Heath's probably more of a trade out than a trade in option. Lucy McAvoy with an 80 has had a good score on North this week. Could get a fair bit of ball in defence. Tessema Carney potentially become a trade in option. Jenna Richardson had a really good score after a few poor ones. And then you've also got like a Jade Ellinger sitting there as well. Any one of those, Tom, or well, go Tom first and John. Any one of those that you sort of like the look of that you'd be happy to trade into? Brittany Goodnecht as well, another one at 743.
Yeah. So I've got two that's on my radar at the minute. Jenna Richardson, off the back of a ton last week. I know a lot of that was off the back of intercept marks, which isn't sustainable. But I'm kind of looking for somebody whose cash is going in the correct direction this week. Also has this glorious run for Hawthorn. And as I said, cash is going the right direction and averaged well last year. The other one you actually didn't mention, I'm not against trading in Brie Conan. Brisbane have a glorious run for defenders and midfielders for the next few weeks. I'm priced at 802k. I definitely don't mind it. It's been super, super consistent this year. And
Only
it depends
one
whether
below
you...
67.
But no scores above 78.
Yeah, so very
so it
similar to
depends
Charlie
whether
Thomas.
So it depends whether you're glass half full or glass half empty, whether you're going no ceiling or you're going no floor. But I think with the run, it's definitely an option to bring in with Gold Coast, Port Adelaide, Essendon in the next 3.
Yeah. Jono, you like any of those players or who's your favourite at that cheaper price?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Jenna Richardson as well. I think she's a very good player to have. And I think the Hawks are also, we're having a few defenders fall down. So Ainsley Kemp's done her ACL, Emily Everest out with concussion at the moment. And there was one other, I can't remember, Najwa Allen, who's done her hamstring. And it just means that whilst a lot of Jenna's impact is her intercept marking, I do think the Hawks were looking for a little bit more controlled play against Geelong on the weekend. And there were just a lot of marks around that back line. I can see, with how well that worked late in the game, I can see us doing a lot more of that in the coming weeks, particularly against Gold Coast the week after, who, I think they give up a lot of marks. So I'm thinking something along those lines myself as well, if I can't get up to Siren Watson.
Yeah, Jenna Richardson's the one that I'm potentially looking at, maybe a little sideways swap from Shelley Heath as well with that good run coming up. So I do like Jenna Richardson as an option there. Moving to the mids, I think if you don't have any of the 3 big mids in terms of 1.5 or over and you've got the cash, Ebony Marinoff obviously is slowly going back up again. Another 46k made this week, has now gone over 135 in each of her last 3 games. So we're back to regular scheduling of Noffy just dominating week in, week out. Another 135 again this week. And 94% TOG is also very good to see. Kiara Bowers, again, same. Last 3 games, hasn't gone below 127. Massive scores, tackling, and getting the ball a little bit more now as well. So really good to see. And then Laura Gardner, maybe not this week against North Melbourne, but after that, they've got a pretty good run to end the year. She is a definite option after that big score. But Ash Riddell and Jazz Garner, Jono, have now dropped in price. I think Riddell, first time this year, has fallen below 1.4 million with an 86, but that was her first sub-ton since round 1. So a long time since that's happened. Her and Jazz Garner, though, both, I'm assuming, would be probably the top of the shopping list if you didn't own either.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like of all the lines, this is the one where I feel the most confident in the top 5 scorers, and I'm happy to ride the lows when they go down and hold on if on the way back up. So I guess if you don't have either of Riddell or Garner, I wouldn't be dissuaded by this one score here, and I'd jump on. I suppose the harder situation is if you don't have one of, say, Bowers or Gardner, which I think a lot of people are running 4, but not necessarily all 5. What do you do in that situation? I think that's the tricky discussion.
Oh, Tom?
So I see what I see kind of one option that I like if you want. If you say you've got like a Monconti, what I was talking about with Brie Conan was a really, really nice run for Brisbane. I don't mind Ali Anderson as an option. Lucy Single is a little bit of a flag this week that she might run with her, but I think at 1.12 million, that's a very attainable amount of cash from Moncon. Apart from that, you kind of.
See, I still like Britt Bonici at 1.108. I know it wasn't a great score against the Dogs, but they've got a pretty good run coming up. Obviously, starting with West Coast this week. Don't mind her. Probably a little bit expensive now, but Gabby Newton's been great the last 2 weeks. 128, 116. If you want to go for a real pod, decent run for Freo, you could look potentially there. But Jono, the one I want to get your thoughts on. Down all the way at, what's that, 885K. For those that are cash strapped, Ellie Blackburn went back into the midfield. Looked very good. No kick, 4 goals. Spent a little bit more time as well, a little bit forward, but a lot more in the midfield. Great run coming up. For those that have got someone that's falling and need to jump off and make cash, could Ellie Blackburn be potentially someone at a cheap price you could look to go to?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ellie Blackburn, when she's fit and playing full-time midfield, is, a 95 to 100 player. She's done that seasons on seasons. Superstar. I wouldn't expect her to be kicking 4 goals and, dominating the matches she just did every week. But I suppose it's one of those things that worries me is when someone does have one of those massive matches where they have the 30 touches, the 4 goals, and then they still put up 120. Like it's the sort of game you want a bigger score from because everything's fallen their way. But look, if they've decided they want to back in there full time, I think there's probably 20 points of headroom on the current price. So I wouldn't dissuade, if you're in that position where you're trying to find that next ride up, I wouldn't dissuade anyone from doing that. I'd just temper expectations on, she's not going to match it with those top 5.
Yeah. Someone to make a bit of cash maybe for a fortnight or so. Maybe sideways. Tyler Hanks, is she someone that could someone you look at? So she's gone 77, 54, 85 after staying with 4 tons. But could you go there instead for about, what's that, 70K more expensive?
You can. Time on ground is a little bit of a worry. It's kind of heading in the wrong direction, the time on ground with Tyler Hanks. I don't know why that would be. It might just be stuck on the bench at the wrong times. Goal kicked at the wrong times in a bit of an anomaly. I don't mind it. Started the season with 4 tons. Couple of good fixtures to come in the next couple as well. I don't hate it. But I think I prefer Blackburn and Anderson, depending which side of the price you want to go, more expensive or cheap.
Yeah, no, something to definitely look at for sure. In terms of the rucks, I think, again, if you haven't got one of those top couple, then Lucy Wales is probably the one you're looking at. Matilda Schultz is still an option there as well. Would you be targeting Mimstrom, Jono? If you didn't have Mimstrom, she's just under 1.1. Could you jump on now and go, well, maybe she goes on a run now and you've missed the cash drop? Or do you just think we've seen 7 games now of sample size that maybe Mimstrom's just back with the pack with those other couple of top rucks?
Yeah, I think I would be pretty worried, to be honest, just because the run for the rest of the year is really not great. I suppose if she is going to be scoring, it's going to be in the next 2 or 3. I think she could go okay against Lucy Wales and then the Giants, depending on if they can get enough stoppages there. But yeah, it's a tough run, and she hasn't really shown the form that you'd want to turn around. So I probably would be looking elsewhere. And it probably would be Lucy Wales, or I guess even Steph Wales kind of has a couple tough matchups, but runs well to the end of the year. It's not like there are a lot of rucks with good runs now that I look at it, because it's teams which have dual rucks that really have the good runs, like Carlton. So it's a little trickier to see what you want to do there.
Yeah, so a lot of people probably just holding, because a lot of people probably just upgraded that spot already.
Yeah.
Tommy,
I think I'd be holding. Then maybe like if you wanted to use a trade around there, you could, for example, round 11, you could jump on a Alice Edmonds against Geelong.
Yeah, maybe, to make a bit of cash, that could be a play, because obviously Geelong's still gearing up plenty of points for ruck, so that could be something to potentially look at.
Like that. Other than that, I think you're kind of sticking now with the one you've got, like Wales, Scholes, Strom. I don't think I'd be wasting a ruck trade.
Yeah.
The one ruck question I wanted to ask. The one I wanted to ask is Caitlin Reid. So no Ali Morford this week. Came in this week, scored a 64
against one of the toughest matchups around.
Went up 128k, up to 445. Would you be bothering sidewaysing a trade from like a Dunlop to a Reid to try and renew that cash gen? And what caveats would you have if the answer is yes, I would bring that player in?
I think you could. I think as long as Morford's not back this week and you've probably got nothing to do with it. So like if you go rookie down and someone up and you don't really have much to do with that last trade, Dunlop sideways to Reid to make a bit of cash this week is something that you can definitely look at. I think if Morford's back, you're not doing it. But I think if she's not named, you can definitely look at it, Jono.
Yeah, I'd just be so worried that the second Ali Morford comes back in, as well as she plays, I just don't think she's going to be in the side. So unless I would have the news locked in that Ali Morford is out for a while, there'd have to be some sort of announcement, I think.
Yeah, I guess Tuesday we'll see injury reports. We know that they're not always real accurate. We still see, like, I think Ali Morford, no mention of that injury whatsoever. And then all of a sudden Thursday, she's out, not playing. So hopefully we get some clarity on that one to look at. But besides that, probably not much else.
Fourth game of the week, and it is in Tasmania. It's in Launceston at UTAS. So just as a, will she travel to Tassie? Fourth game of the round.
Hopefully we find out at some point. Moving to the forwards, I think there's a bit of movement probably with a lot of people with their forward lines this week. Plenty of options. If you don't have Zali Goldsworthy, the standout option at F1, 1.246 million, so expensive, but going along well. Courtney Hodder went up a lot of money this week, 976k. Jono, is that if you didn't jump on her, is that too much now, or do you think they've still got a good run? You can still jump on.
Yeah, I mean that's the crazy thing with Courtney Hodder. It's that her run actually gets better over the next three. It's Gold Coast, Port, and then Essendon. So I think if anything, there's still plenty of time to jump on, and you should get another few weeks of scoring very, very decently.
Yeah, I just would have loved these good scores to be last year. That would be really handy when we started it. But no, certainly someone to be looking at. That's for sure. Montana Ham, Chloe Malloy, not this week, but next week. Both good options to bring in. They'll be both under, you'd imagine. Well, maybe not Montana Ham, but Malloy will still be under 900k, you'd imagine. So it's someone to be looking there. Now, Tom, you're an owner. Bonnie Too Good. Could you jump on? She just keeps getting it done.
The thing that I really liked about Bonnie Too Good was that she got moved around the ground. She got moved behind the ball when the tide was against. So she basically was going to be where the ball is. She's got two okay matchups in the next two, in Melbourne and Western Bulldogs. Then it's a tougher couple of Brisbane and Hawthorn. You can jump on, but I think there are better options.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yep, if you want to jump on, you can, but there are probably a few other options here. Jono, Imogen Barnett, Ash Maloney, both players that have been good. Had a couple of obviously Barnett one sort of poor score. Maloney has only had one score in her last five below 72. That was a 62 against Port last week, so still getting it done. Then you've also got like a Taylor Harris, 795k, could be potentially be an option. Anya McDonald's been really good. I'm just mentioning some options.
I think Taylor Harris owner. It's a horrible.
Anya McDonough has obviously had some good performances back to back, and then also Ellen Gilroy. They've got a good run. Hawthorn coming up. Could you jump on any of those? And
well,
we'll
I think those last two are related. Basically, since Eileen Gilroy's been back, Anya McDonough's gone 83-80, and I think that's 100% her being able to get the ball moving, giving her a little bit of space. She's more isolated front of the ground. It's been a nice one there.
The best thing about Anya McDonough, 100% talking 6 of the 7 games.
Yeah. Yes.
She does not leave
87%. I think she got cleaned up and had to go off the ground for injury. It wasn't for any other reason.
Yeah. So do you like any of those options? Like, because they've dropped a little bit, some of those, but do you like a couple of them?
Yeah, no, I can run through them. So Imogen Barnett, I wouldn't be trading into because I think her price is going to drop, and you may as well wait for it to drop. But I wouldn't be trading out of her either. I think she's got a good run ahead of her and should be bouncing back soon. I think Ash Maloney is one that I brought in a couple of weeks ago. They're very, very consistent. I don't think there's a defender in the game that has the size and the agility that Maloney has. So I just really don't think that the floor scores are going to come for her, which is very nice when you compare it to a lot of the other forwards in the comp.
Well, that next two, they got Carlton, GWS, and then I'm trying to look at the third one, then West Coast. So it's actually a really nice sort of 3-game stretch. Sends the Dogs and finishes with Melbourne. It's a little bit tricky, but the next 5, look pretty good on paper. Sorry, 4 look pretty good on paper.
Yeah, I mean, the speed that she has, there were a couple times she was really just burning the Hawks and then putting it over the back for Geelong. So I thought a great game by her on Thursday and should keep rolling. If it's someone that you're looking for confidence, I'd keep running forward with them. But are we getting cheap enough in this price bracket that we're looking at Piper Window?
Yes, that was she was the next one I was going to mention. I think Piper Window is probably the pick if you're looking to sideways or downgrade in the forward. Tom, you mentioned she played full-time mid in that game. 76 this week, scored obviously 61 earlier in the season. But to play 81% TOG in first game back, we know she loves to tackle as well. Porter got an okay-ish run, at least for mids coming up. I think she's probably the one that. And could you go Ash Woodland down to Pipe Window and bank 160, 170k?
Yeah. I've not decided on my answer to this question because I honestly think those scores could flip. But Ash Woodland's cash, it wouldn't surprise me if they're the same price next week. If you're effectively you're making the money for, honestly, I think probably the same player. If you were to say what they're going to average, I would say probably both about 70 for the rest of the year, 70, 75 maybe max. So you can do it, yes, and I might do it. Sorry, I've had to. I'm doing my opinion on the fly. Because I think it's a really interesting concept. I'm never usually great at. It never really sits great taking 2 players from the same club in effectively the same role and switching between them. I don't like it. So I think it's a bit of variance that week on week. Who scores better, but I think the cash difference and the volatility in price could mean that it's a very nice way to grab 150k.
Yeah. I think there's an aspect here where for the rest of the season, like the team value still matters a lot right now, but in 3 weeks we're going to be caring about it a lot less, and we're just going to be running best player on field. And so it's something just to keep in the back of the mind there, I guess.
Yeah. The one player that I just wanted to quickly mention, just looking at the price and the run, we mentioned the Gold Coast, Port, and Essendon run for Brisbane. Jono, is at 602k, could you go for Taylor Smith as a pod pick to make money? At 602, 66 and 62 in the last 2 games, but it's more the 3-game run I'm looking at here. Is there any potential that you could go there?
No, I'm glad you brought this up because I've been thinking about it ever since they got past that North game. And I was going, I can't bring this up on the podcast because she just scored a 27 and hasn't really shown anything this year. But yeah, based on the form she had last year and the last 2 weeks of going 60 back to back, I think he can absolutely do it. I don't think Gold Coast, Port Adelaide, or I can't remember who the third team was, but I don't think they have the defense to stop all of Brisbane's weapons. And they're going to be chopping and changing all the time. So I know Mira Gervin's got, some points on the board, but Dakota Davidson is just as dangerous, and you've got to stop both of them. So I very much think Taylor Smith could be a consistent player from here if you're looking for someone really cheap. The ceiling may not be there. I don't think she's the sort of player who's going to be putting up hundreds, but I definitely think that there is a lot of value there.
Yeah. I guess for those coaches that have maybe still got a Lauren Young on field, maybe they've got a Laura Stone, don't have the cash to go up.
Yeah.
That could be something that you do look at. But yeah, no, I do agree. Probably not the ceiling, but could be something to look at there. Final thing, Jono, is there any rookies that you'd like the look of that coaches could jump on that had good games? I know that Steele Park for Sydney had a 59 today and looked pretty good. I think Izzy Huntington also had a good game, 59. A little bit more expensive there. But is there any other rookies that you like the look of that could make some cash for us? Because it's getting a bit dire and pretty bare.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anyone that really pops. I think we're at that point of the year. I mean, Steele Park is probably the best option, but I think that was more Tom suggesting that earlier. I haven't seen anyone under that 500K mark. Like, there's maybe a world where Mackenzie Eardley starts popping pretty consistent scores. I think a 19 drops off, but it's 497. You're not downgrading to that, So it's a very tricky point right now where we'll probably have to just be judging our debutantes when they are announced later in the week and then deciding if we think it's worth jumping on or not.
Yeah. One player that it's quite interesting to see their price down here. So down... Just trying to get the price down 337K. Grace Campbell is 386K. I believe it was a premium forward for us a couple of years ago. Just thought it was crazy. You're not bringing her in. I don't think you haven't seen probably enough. I think she had a couple of injuries to deal with this year, but just someone, if she gets down to basement, she could turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were looking at because Benici was out. Basically that whole Collingwood midfield was injured at the time.
Davey, I think Ruby Slasher as well. Yeah.
And then once she stepped out of the midfield, it was back to those sort of 40s, which, I mean, even with Centra coming in now, they've even got less, and Ramos as well, starting to play so well. It's hard to find room for Grace Campbell anywhere in that midfield.
Yeah, I just saw the price and it was interesting that it was so cheap.
Yeah.
So something to look at. But yeah, not too many rookies, unfortunately, available for us there. But that'll wrap us up. As we always do, we'll quickly go through what our current very, 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 very early trade plans are on a Sunday night when lockout's lifted, not even a couple of hours ago. But Jono, have you got any idea of what trades you got now, what you might think about doing?
Yeah, well, hold on. I'll need to do them live with you. So I think the first point of call for me this week is I'll be getting rid of Eden Zanker. And probably most likely I'll be taking it down to Piper Window just because I like the role. I think it's fairly consistent. And with last week's cash, that'll leave me, around 70K. I'll probably take Piper Dunlop down and then move Shelley Heath or Brie Conan up to the best player I can, which does not look like it will get me all the way up to Siren Watson, sadly. So it might have to be someone else.
Yeah, I'll have to see. Hope for those trades can work for you, Jono. Tom, what are you currently looking at? Any ideas?
I've just quickly done mine. I'm doing Ash Woodland down to Piper Window to bank the cash. And then that allows me to do Tessa Boyd and Shelley Heath to Jenna Richardson and Brie Conan.
Beautiful. Like it. My early trade plans I've sort of put in was Ash Woodland down to Piper Window as well. Dunlop down to, it can be anyone at 334K or below. So I'd probably just get the 300K basement. Could even jump on the Basenko train and join Mel on that, Jono, maybe at R2 potentially there. And then go Shelley Heath up to Tilly Lucas Rod. That is I think the run for Hawthorn looks great and Tilly Lucas Rod's going to be a big part of that. So I think they're a definite option. But I could also just do three little sideways shovels. I could go like a Woodland to Maloney. I could go Neve McLaughlin across to a Tilly Lucas Rod. And then even like an Eden Zanker to Piper Window, just do three little sideways shuffles. So something like that, I'll probably look at doing one of those few trades there. But still plenty of week to go. But the good thing is we've got Thursday Night Football again moving forward. So don't have to wait till Saturday for AFLW to be back on. So looking forward to that. But that will do us. Yep, Tom.
We've got a nice weekend this weekend. We've got one Thursday, one Friday, 4 on the Saturday and 3 on the Sunday. It's normal footy.
That weekend. Amazing.
It's normal footy. And if I'm right, there is no overlapping games. You can watch 9 games of AFLW this weekend.
Yeah,
get yourself
locked in. Unbelievable. Good riddance to the men's season, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Jono, you were saying good riddance to the men's season when the prelim final week when Geelong unfortunately beat Hawthorn. But you at least got a little bit of solace back with the women's team beating Geelong, so there was at least something back there. But that'll do us for another Sunday night review. So Jono, thank you very much for jumping on with us for the first time on the Sunday night show this year, mate. It's been a pleasure chatting to you as always. Where can the Pill find you? Across the socials, and I'm sure they already do, but if they haven't checked the Free Kick Pod out, where can they find that?
Yeah, no, thanks, mate. It's always good to be on. I think if you want to look for us, we're across all the socials. We're at Free Kick W Pod, and you can find me at Free Kick Jono on X if you look me up there.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, mate. Go give the man a follow. Tom, where can the people find you?
Find me on X at Tom_Hales_, and I hope you all have a great week.
Yeah, hopefully Tom will calm down over the next 24, 48 hours. And
I'm fine. I'm just letting these girls know that you got to perform.
You've got to perform.
I think it's your role as a British man to come different countries and just tell people what to do. So I like it.
Love it.
Sorry.
And you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials and us at AFL Fantasy Fans on X. If you are on YouTube, can give us a like on the video and subscribe to our channel. That would be very much appreciated. If you're listening on the pod, a 5-star rating and review would be also very much appreciated. And we'll be live later in the week. Not sure if it's going to be a Wednesday night, Thursday, or a Friday. We'll let people know there in terms of scheduling moving this week. So, but yes, make sure you guys tune in later in the week. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good start to your week, and we'll catch you guys for our pre-lockout chat. So thanks everyone. Have a good week. See ya.
Bye.